Well, good morning. Here we go. Epstein-Barr virus, the root cause of many autoimmune disorders, mystery illnesses, menopause, you name it. Epstein-Barr virus is the culprit of many things. And we're about to go over the history of viruses and antibiotics. How did we get a super virus? How did this become the issue for so many problems that we are facing in our health today? Well, let me introduce myself first. Why do I even have any expertise on this? My name is Rachel Balansat. I'm a regenerative health practitioner, clinical iridologist, and also Ayurvedic practitioner. So I focus on nutrition. I focus on healing the body naturally. I focus on using superfoods to naturally support the body's natural healing mechanism. For detoxing, I'm a cellular detox specialist. So this is all about detoxing the liver, detoxing our organs. These are the ways that we actually improve our health, is through actually removing the chemicals, the metals, the viral loads, all the things that wreak havoc in our body and cause a host of problems. So I'm just going to list off a bunch of things right off the bat. What does Epstein-Barr virus cause? All right. Hashimoto's thyroiditis, number one. We're going to go deep into that. Eczema, psoriasis, Lyme disease, brain fog, lupus, corneal disease, autoimmune disorders, fibromyalgia, vertigo and dizziness, rheumatoid arthritis, tinnitus, fibroids, heart palpitations, Raynaud's syndrome, hot flashes, glaucoma, eye floaters, in some cases, insomnia. Nodules. Oops, I'm still letting people in. I have to make somebody else a co-host because I can't do all this. So I'm gonna make let's see, Gleneth, will you please let people in? Sorry, I'm just gonna make a couple co-hosts here. That way everyone gets in the room. And I'm also gonna make Shri a co-host. Just because you guys are right there, I'm gonna make Tereshea a co-host. So just please let people in as they come. It's really good to see you all, including you, Yama. Okay. What else does EBV cause? Epstein-Barr virus. What else does it cause? PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, infertility, endometriosis, methylation problems. Everyone talks about methylation. I can't methylate, therefore I can't eat this or that or this. Why are you having methylation problems? Epstein-Barr virus. Headaches and migraines and more. Pins and needles, neuropathy, heart palpitations, night sweats, loss of libido, weird weight gain, roving body pains, just this goes from here and then goes to there and it moves around, depression, aches and pains, and mystery illnesses in general. Well, you got a mystery illness, don't know what that's a problem. I don't know why you have that. So these are all the various things that you can have. I need to grab my water. 1 second. I can tell this is going to be a day where I'm going to need to drink. Okay, so several of the people here who are on this call are health coaches who have been learning with me, alongside me for many, many years, and they're also trained to help you. Okay, so just want you guys to know that we got you covered. Okay, so we are going to give you an opportunity to ask questions at the end after I kind of like share, and we're going to share some stories. You're going to hear some amazing stories of people recovering their health. I hope that you guys who I haven't called on are going to be ready to just spontaneously share. So get your stories ready, because there are a few of you who I'm going to have you share. If you feel inspired, I'm going to ask you to share your story. Saturday mornings, we have weekly calls almost every Saturday where we cover a topic and we answer questions. And we also help you learn about a superfoods protocol that does help with cleansing the liver, helps with killing parasites, helps with removing metals, all kinds of things. We are going to talk about foods that are ideal to eat, how to eat in order to help yourself transform your health. So it's all going to be covered today. Okay. Whew. I'm excited. I hope you are. Who's excited? Drop me a 1 if you're like, wow. If you're like already like, wow, drop me a 1. Let's see it. Okay, let's talk about the history the history of the Epstein-Barr virus. Now, first of all, in the 1890s, there was this benign herpetic virus. Benign. You know what benign means? I mean, it was like harmless, a harmless virus. And this was the early Epstein-Barr virus before it became problematic. So there were other, so penicillin was invented in 1928, but before penicillin, there were other antibiotics there were all these lab experiments, and they were creating all these other antibiotics that were used to treat various bacteria. And they had heavy metals in them. All these antibiotics had heavy metals in them. So what happened was this harmless herpetic virus began eating these metals, and it began to mutate. Okay, so heavy metals are the food for Epstein-Barr virus. And they began to become prolific, and this virus began to mutate. So early pesticides, all right? We had early pesticides, fungicides that were used, and they were made of arsenic and lead. So while this virus was being fed these antibiotics, was eating all these metals, it was also, I mean, you know, people are getting antibiotics for all different kinds of things, for bacteria, right? But then this virus is like now feeding on the metals from these antibiotics that were used to treat other things. Do you guys get that? And so now you've got also simultaneously, there was no such thing as organic back then. There was no organic and non-organic. There was not this like division of what's food and toxic, right? It was just everything was being sprayed with pesticides that had arsenic and lead, and eventually mercury and other things. So there's also mercury in these pharmaceuticals. And so long story short is the Epstein-Barr virus mutated. It was thriving on these metals. And by the 1900s, Epstein-Barr virus was like heavily established. Like this was an established virus. This thing was actually really making its way through the body. And where would it lodge? Where would this be absorbed? Well, first of all, the metals would be quickly absorbed by our thyroids. Okay, so the thyroids was like a sponge, like absorbing all the metals out of our system. So where would Epstein-Barr virus go to find those metals as it was hungry? The thyroid, right? Okay, so now the Epstein-Barr virus is going into the thyroid, and it's lodging itself in there, and it's now eating all the metals in the thyroid. So this was the beginning of Hashimoto's thyroiditis, Hashimoto's thyroiditis. This was the beginning of a widespread beginning of an epidemic. All right. Now, right now, out of the roughly 320 million people in the US, over 225 million Americans have some form of Epstein-Barr virus. Do you get that? Out of 320 million, over 225 million, that is the majority of the population have some form of Epstein-Barr virus. All right. So in 1912, the word Hashimoto's came into play, named after a doctor, and it was labeled. But Hashimoto's was stage 3 of the virus. So the Epstein-Barr virus has 4 stages. The first stage is dormant, meaning it's asleep. It's, you know, just in its beginning stages of like getting into the organs, finding its way into the thyroid, finding its way to where are the metals. It's just eating metals. Okay. Then we get into stage 2, which can look like different things, but in some cases back then it was rheumatoid fever, rheumatic fever, mono. And this was also known as glandular fever. Okay, and this we go into a dormancy period after that. So people get mono and then it goes away. Why? What's happening? The virus is now lodging into organs. It's finding organs to like hide in and, you know, eat metals, and it's like disappearing into the organs. And then you get into stage 3, which is Hashimoto's. And oftentimes that would have been like age 16, because people get mono as the stage 2, and then they end up with Hashimoto's at age 16. So it doesn't always happen like this. It can take decades for that dormancy period to finally wake up. And you can also get into, you can also end up with eczema, psoriasis, and then eczema and psoriasis later becomes Hashimoto's. So depending on the types of metals that you have, it's going to express itself in different ways. So depending on the kind of metals, it might show up as eczema, or might show up as psoriasis. I got all my notes here just to make sure I don't forget anything. I'm like, I must say this and this and this and this and this. Okay. So back in the 1900s, what would happen? You start getting these other symptoms, hot flashes, because now as all of a sudden it's the Epstein-Barr virus was evolving, and now it was like causing these other problems. And so you would start getting hot flashes, night sweats, depression, pain. And then suddenly, there is the crazy woman syndrome. They didn't know what to call it. It's the crazy woman syndrome. Medical books called it the crazy woman syndrome. And this was the birth in the early 1900s, was a birth of, actually was 1950s. In the 1950s, women's symptoms were beginning to be blamed on hormones. So this was the hormone movement. Okay, this is like everything's being blamed on the hormones now. So crazy woman syndrome, right? Menopause began being associated with menopause, which is the ending of the women's period, the ending of the women's menstruation cycle. They just clumped it all in there. But when you think about it, in women in their early 40s, women in their late 50s are all having symptoms at different times. Some have them before their period ends. Some have them after the period ends. Some have them while the period is ending. And some people don't have it at all. Some people don't have any symptoms at all. So what we've been associated with menopause is actually a late stage Epstein-Barr virus. So why could people like be ill and then not be ill and then have another illness and then not have an illness? Because it lodges and it goes dormant in the organs as it proliferates to the next cycle. So before the 1900s, women looked forward to getting to that stage of life where their period ended, because that was when they would have more energy. Can you guys believe it? Women would have more energy. Did I freeze? There. Women would have more energy. They would feel better in their bodies. They would feel excited and looking forward. More libido. Okay? More libido as their eggs are dropping, because now the body's like, oh, we're going to stop bleeding. We're going to just drop a ton of eggs. Now there's like this high libido. Okay. So it's very interesting when you think about it, that menopause is associated with all these symptoms when those symptoms are totally inconsistent with the end of the period. Some people get it before, some people get it afterwards, some get it, don't get it at all. Any of those symptoms. All right. So let's talk about the poop, Epstein-Barr virus poop. Okay. There's different aspects of Epstein-Barr virus that make people sick. And this has to do with, well, first of all, hold on a second. I got a lot of notes here. I just want to make sure that I'm not going ahead of myself. So we're going to talk about how there's 3 types of poison from the Epstein-Barr virus. So the Epstein-Barr virus excretes toxic waste matter. This is a viral byproduct. Okay, a mycotoxin. You might hear of the word mycotoxin associated with mold, because mold spores also throw off a mycotoxin when it dies. So this viral product is when the Epstein-Barr virus excretes. Okay, it's poop. It's Epstein-Barr poop, but that's a toxic waste in itself. When a cell or the virus dies, its corpse also becomes a mycotoxin. Its corpse is actually a toxic byproduct. So that's 2. Okay. And so then these poisons have the ability to generate a neurotoxin, which disrupts the nerve function and confuses your immune system. That happens during stage 3 and continuously during stage 4. So your liver has a hard time flushing these toxins out of the system. Your liver is what cleans your blood, right? So these toxins now are in the liver, proliferating the liver, and the liver is getting sluggish. Other things that happen when your liver is sluggish is your stomach's hydrochloric acid can lower. And that is, the hydrochloric acid is what breaks down your food, right? And so then your intestinal tract starts becoming toxic. So now people have digestive issues. So it's amazing, like Epstein-Barr virus can span the spectrum, what it's capable of causing in the body, but you can end up having intestinal issues. And when your food's not fully digested, then you're bloated, right? That causes bloating and constipation. You can develop sensitivities to food, because then the cheese is broken down into something that's unrecognizable. So another thing that happens is you have a traumatic incident in your life, something really exciting happens, or something really tragic happens. It can be either or, but where there's a dump of adrenaline, where your body's having an adrenaline moment. You get in a car accident, you have a divorce, you have a breakup, someone dies in your family, someone close to you dies, you have an accident or an injury, or you give birth. Your body's dumping all this adrenaline into your body to protect you, but this adrenaline is corrosive. It feeds the virus. And so suddenly you're all fine, you're all healthy, you have an accident, and then all of a sudden you're now sick. You got lupus, you got hepatitis, you got hep C. You were diagnosed with all different with different issues. Suddenly have heart palpitations, because now the Epstein-Barr virus is living and eating this adrenaline as food. Norepinephrine. Another thing, you eat a lot of fats, you eat oils, that's feeding the Epstein-Barr virus as well, because your body requires adrenaline to break down fat molecules. Okay, so you put oils on your salads, you cook you eat meat, which has a lot of fat in it, and then you cook the meat in oil, and that's more fat, and then now your body's producing adrenaline. People on keto diets, oh, I feel great, I have all this adrenaline, and then all of a sudden, next thing you know, they're sick. They're suddenly having a proliferation of pain, and they suddenly gain 60 pounds after they lost all that weight. Now they gain it all back plus some, because they've been destroying their immune systems with this adrenaline that's feeding the Epstein-Barr virus that might have been dormant during that first year of keto, and then now it's suddenly going to destroy them. Now it's suddenly causing inflammation, it's causing swelling of the ankles, cankles, as one of our Michelle says. Suddenly you have migraines, you have neck pains, you have edema, right? The swelling of the legs. So these are all different things that can happen. Let's hear some stories of people. Let's hear some inspiring stories of people who've overcome this. And then lupus. Did I mention lupus? Lupus is the body reacting to all these byproducts, right? Reacting to the mycotoxins, to the neurotoxins, the poop, the dead corpses, the dead virus corpses, and the virus poop and virus corpses. So, who here has some courage and would be willing to share your story here, sit alongside me and talk about how your health has changed since following a protocol, eating the right foods, and flooding your body with nutrition. We're going to talk about the 90-day protocol that many of us health practitioners have aligned with. There's a 90-day protocol, a superfoods protocol that these people have followed, and they have used the nutrition to support their bodies through and have had relief of symptoms. And one quick thing about testing for Epstein-Barr, that you can ask your doctors for a test, and sometimes it'll show up and sometimes it won't, because remember, there's dormancy periods. So your symptoms will tell you. So who will jump on with me? Somebody be brave. Come off mute. Thank you, Kristen.
Hello. I'm driving, but I can pull over here in a minute. So I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis 10 years ago, like right now, like I'm about to turn 40, and right before I turned 30, I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And it was found as optic neuritis. So my optic nerve was being affected, and it was very, very painful. Any movement of that eye was very, very painful. And then I was working for an eye doctor. I was in that business for a long time, and luckily, the doctor finally found the hemorrhage. So my vision was affected for about 9 months. The colors were off. The pain did go away after a couple of weeks. And then I just had several things over the years. Once that kind of cleared up, it was always kind of dimmer in that eye. My vision was never completely better until now. And over the 10 years, I have had a lot of nerve pain in my body. And at the end of 2021, I was having trouble standing at the kitchen, or cooking, or I'd have to pull a chair into the kitchen to sit down. However long it takes you to prep a meal, I couldn't stand that long. So things were looking pretty grim. It was looking bad. And I was really scared. And I knew I needed better nutrition. All of these years, I did not do medication. And I knew I started off I was juicing. I was doing the best I could. I was doing paleo. I did all the different diets. And really, I think cutting out dairy and cutting out those foods was huge. And there was an improvement. There was definitely improvement. But it wasn't something that I could easily sustain. I needed something that was easy. I needed something that was quick. I was working a full-time job. I'm like, I need fast, healthy food and organic. And I knew the level of nutrition that I needed. So 2 years ago, I found this nutrition, and I found my best friend was sharing this on social media. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, that's it. That makes perfect sense. It just makes sense. And I was missing the detox part too. I was trying to eat good all the time, but and not doing that good of a job either. Now that I look at it, and so I was having still a lot of pain and fatigue as well. So just finding this nutrition, the detox part of it that I started doing every 3 months. I now do a parasite cleanse, and after my third one, so however long that was, but like a year, a good solid year of detoxing, because multiple sclerosis is that's a big thing. It takes time, some of these things. And I did immediately see results. I immediately had more energy, immediately was sleeping better. I immediately felt better. But as far as the nerve pain, some things took a little time to go completely away. So by the time I did my third parasite cleanse, I felt something lift. Something left my body. That's the only way I could really describe that, is just, I felt like something had left my body. And I just completely rejuvenated. I don't have nerve pain anymore. My vision has gotten better in my right eye. It's like equal to my other eye. The brightness, everything is better. And I feel like Superwoman, and I hike. I'm very active. And yeah, so this is my lifestyle. I have to live like this. I love living like this. I love this food. I've got my shake right here because I live out in the middle of nowhere, and now I have to go into town, and it takes, at least 3 hours. I'm in town, so I bring my food with me wherever I go, and it's just so easy and convenient, and I feel amazing. So.
And so were you not able to see at all, or like what was you couldn't see at all?
I could see it all. I was very light sensitive in my right eye. It just affected my right eye. For 9 months, the colors were really off. It was like blue and green out of this eye. It was really weird.
Wow.
And heat, I couldn't get overheated. Hiking and stuff, I was really cut way back. And just because of being overexhausted, a lot of people with MS, you get overheated, and then that just causes flare-ups all over. But
Thank you.
Yeah.
So multiple sclerosis. So Kristen is recovered completely from multiple sclerosis, and the eye condition is one of the major symptoms for helping doctors diagnose it. So I am really, really excited. And she did this protocol, and she cut out dairy, and you cut out, what else did you cut out?
Everything.
Everything.
It took time, but I did. I cut out, dairy was huge. It took a little time to cut out all the meat completely, but I did. I cut out caffeine, which is hard. I was drinking a lot of caffeine, alcohol, all of it. I had to cut out everything. And now that's not to say if, the holidays or something, or if I choose to have a little something, it's okay. It's not like it's going to throw me back into a remission.
Not anymore. Not anymore.
Not anymore.
In the past, it did.
Though,
yeah.
Right. For 2 years, I just did clean.
Yeah.
I was very, very strict.
Beautiful. So grateful. Awesome. I'm so glad you're well. Thank you for your story. And, I have a similar story. Mine was Hashimoto's. I did suffer from Hashimoto's thyroiditis for 9 years. I was struggling with my health. I had all the symptoms. I had vertigo. I had bloating. I had constipation. I had horrible loss of energy. I mean, I was not able to work. I ended up living in my car. I mean, this girl was like, I was a wedding photographer for 16 years, and for 16 years traveling the world. And then I was like, I'm done. I'm burnt out. That level of push and stress, again, adrenaline dumping into my system, proliferating the virus. And I'm like getting sicker and sicker as I was working, until I finally had to stop working completely as a wedding photographer. It was a lucrative income, but I decided once I got well, I said, I want to promote this. This is what I want to do. I want to help people get healthy for a living. I want to change my career to being a practitioner and being a health coach, and just like sharing what's good for people, because so many people are struggling. We got 220 million people to help, you guys. We need help helping them. So anyway, I was sick, very, very sick. And there were other things that there's symptoms that sometimes you can't even describe, like just this feeling in my head that things were moving and I couldn't even barely stand up. And it was just like, I just thought I was going to be homeless. I thought one day I'm just going to be, beyond homeless, panhandling, just asking for food because I can't even work. I can't do anything. I just imagined that was a trajectory I visualized for myself until I finally found this protocol, and this protocol within the first 10 days, my symptoms were gone in the first 10 days. And it was like hard to believe. I was like, is that really possible? I mean, is this going to be gone forever? Or is this just like, just temporary while I'm on this cleanse? I'm doing this detox. Is that why I'm feeling better? And maybe it's all going to come back when I'm done. But like, it's been 10 years now. I've been symptom free. I feel amazing. I'm 51 now. I started when I was, I guess, 41. And my life has been changed ever since. So my 40s was like so much better than my 30s. My 30s sucked. I was sick my whole 30s. And then my 40s, I had all my energy, became a bodybuilding champion. Just like all of a sudden, like now I have tons of energy to work out. I can hike, I can do whatever. I'm like literally more energy than I had even in my 20s. I mean, I'm like back to like feeling like the body of a 21-year-old. So that's what's possible. Who else would like to share a story of recovering their health? Who's brave? Okay, Tanya, hop on.
Morning.
See if I can find a
Yeah,
spot
I just wanted to touch on the menopause piece because that's been my story, as Rachel knows. I too um, recovered so dramatically from having like textbook beyond debilitating menopausal symptoms after celebrating my entire life. Not like Rachel, I was the epitome of health. And once I discovered the truth about our health and what we're not being told in the allopathic world, that our medical system is failing us. Once I learned all of this, going on 9 years now, it's become my passion to share this information because people are really suffering needlessly. It angers me actually. So I went, as I mentioned, from perfect health with a health and fitness coach for most of my career, and never had a single injury or health problem to speak of. And then at about 46, kind of overnight, all of that changed. And it was so dramatic and so awful. And I was a new mom. And I think the unprecedented stress of being a new mom combined with the slight hormonal changes that were happening in perimenopause just was this horrible, this fall from grace. So I was miserable, and in a word, just totally depleted, and I couldn't function, and I had this new baby. And so I did all the things. And like I said, you guys, I was doing the green drinks in the morning, and I was mostly vegetarian and plant-based rather. And I was eating organic because, I was doing all the things. And I went to this incredible dietitian. I sought out this woman who was not of the allopathic world. And she was the first woman who started teaching me why juicing was so important and why deep nourishing. And she had me drinking this green broth and all this stuff. So it started to help right away. She was like, basically what we discovered was that my liver wasn't functioning properly, and my gut, I was not assimilating all the green drinks I was drinking, right? So I was like, wait, how could this be? So you could be doing all the things, but if your gut is compromised, you're not going to be assimilating that stuff. And so these symptoms will wreak havoc. And then Rachel and I connected, and I started to study under her, and
I chased you down.
it changed. Well, just changed
I started stopping you in parking lots. Talk to me. Let me help you.
But I reached out to her. I reached out to her and I said, okay, I need to know what you're teaching. This is, I've done everything I can do. And I'm a solutions person. I'm like, it is not okay with me to feel this way. And I was doing everything, and I was helping I owned a fitness studio. I was helping other people change their health. And so anyway, I started working with Rachel, and everything changed. So it gave me my life back. Within 2 weeks, I had energy again, like I hadn't had in 3 years at that point. Um, the very frustrating menopausal weight just came off as a side effect. I wasn't even that upset about that part, but energy came back online, and I would look in the mirror and I could see myself again. Like there I was. My eyes were brighter. My skin looked good. It was just incredible. So I want to share, and then I've never gone back. So I have managed those debilitating menopausal symptoms naturally. Um, and I'm really proud of that. So I don't have any of those symptoms anymore. And that was like 8 years ago. And but I'm real aware, like if I get offline and if I stop, if I'm not paying attention, there are things, we're definitely more sensitive now. I just think as a culture, our bodies are really sensitive because the toxic overload is so dramatic. And so with all the information, now you can go through your life, you know what you need, you know what you don't need, and you're back in the driver's seat. So I'm just eternally grateful for Rachel and the protocols that she's taught me and that she's teaching on today. It's truly life-changing. I encourage everybody to not wait, because the suffering is optional. It's chronic and endemic in America, but it's not normal to feel like this. So I just think that's really important for people to understand. So thanks for letting me share.
Thank you for saying that it's not normal. We need to normalize health, that is actually make that the new norm, because this is not necessary. It's really just unnecessary for people to be suffering when we can really change our lives just through our nutrition.
Yeah, and I like to ask clients, tell me, do you know anybody in your life? Can you name anybody that doesn't have severe gut dysbiosis, right? That just means like can't, dysfunctional gut, right? Either it's IBS or just can't have gluten, or anybody that doesn't have that, or a severe autoimmune disease, or on and on, like skin disease, and nobody can mention anybody that doesn't have those things, not to mention autism and dementia, all the things that are skyrocketing. It's all related. So
Absolutely.
not normal, and yet it's so chronic. We've forgotten it didn't used to be this way.
Yeah, I like to tell people, so many people think like, as I'm getting older, I'm just in more pain, or I feel more sick, and I just have to accept it's because it's age. People like act like age is a disease. Like aging itself is a sickness. I'm like, no, that is not age. What I like to say is that this is it's just accumulation of toxins over time. That's all it is. Illness is the accumulation of toxins over time. So if you're older, you've been accumulating toxins longer, but guess what? You can reverse age. I truly believe people can live to be way past 100. And I believe we can even live, and I think eventually we're going to be living to our 200s, 300s, and even 400s. Once people start to really, once our culture as a world culture begins to value health. I mean, we have to start to value nutrition as the key to longevity, and understand that back in the day, people died of old age. They weren't dying from symptoms. They would be like happy. And, like Dave Sandoval's grandmother is the perfect example. So he's the founder of the protocol that we're going to introduce in a minute. Dave Sandoval's grandmother was very, very sick. Here, I'll just go ahead and tell that story. So she was very, very sick, was on like a host of different drugs. And he said, he created this protocol to try to help her, like, recover her own health. And he ended up creating like a specific product that had a bunch of different things in this protocol that were to help her. Long story short is she ended up getting, because her doctors took her off of all the medications, doing a free fall. Like, let's do a free fall where it's called a free fall, where they take, somebody who's elderly off all their medications and say, you can die now. We'll just let you die naturally and just take you off all their medications. Well, she ended up doing this, all the nutrition, and she ended up living another 14 years. And then when she finally was ready to die, they found her she was just normal. Like she lived by herself. She cooked and she did her thing, but she lived, nearby. And like, I think like in like an in-law or something. And anyway, they went into her house one morning on a Sunday, and there she was dressed in her Sunday best in front of her favorite, in front of her TV. She'd watched her favorite TV show, Hawaii Five-0. Who remembers that? And and she was just in a rocking chair, and she just died with a smile on her face. Not because she was sick, not because she was, like in a hospital bed, dying from some kind of symptoms and illness, right? So he helped her detox, and that's what he brought to us. Is he brought us this protocol. He made this available to the masses. He had a vision that I can help people transform their health, but I need to make it easy to do so that people will do it, right? Because when he told his grandmother, you have to do all these different things, she said, well, I'd rather die. And he said, okay, well, let me make it really easy for you. And so we made something that was very easy for her to take. And we're going to go over that. And then we'll hear from some more people. So let me go ahead and talk about this protocol. So now, obviously, taking your health into your hands does require making some changes, but I don't want you to be scared of changes, because I want you to know that your cravings will disappear when you add in nutrition. And when you begin to alkalize the body, you will start to lower cravings for sugar, refined sugar. You know what? Natural sugar is okay. Coconut sugar is like fine. Maple is great for you. Okay. Honey's even okay for you. But if you're, people who are strict vegans would rather do maple and, maple sugar or maple syrup, etc. So anyway, long story short is these things are actually good for the liver. Maple is actually great for the liver. And night sweats, by the way, we just mentioned like night sweats and hot flashes, is the liver trying to kill the virus in your system. Okay. It's like, let's heat up, let's kill this virus. And then it's like a heater in your body. And then now everyone's sweating like, whoo, that virus, So we want to help it kill the virus. So we want to kill the virus. We want to remove the metals. We want to remove the adrenaline. We want to reduce adrenaline. We want to remove foods that feed the virus, things like eggs, dairy, pork, meat. Ideally, some people are like, I don't want to give up my fish or my meat. That's fine. If you have to, just don't cook it in oils. Have very little. Have it in limited quantities. Okay, but these things, I'm telling you, aggravate the virus. So that's why we recommend that you increase your plants, become more plant-based as much as possible. And we're going to show you a protocol that has been so effective. And I'm going to share my screen right now so that you can see it. Here we go. Now, this, as a practitioner, I have been sharing this with clients for the last 10 years and have seen incredible results. I have through with my team, we have together helped over 15,000 people recover their health. This is called the Ultimate Lifestyle Transformation, and we are going to give you 25% off discount so that you can actually have this protocol at a discounted price. This is the first 30 days. This is what it looks like. And you can choose, obviously at the top, there's different ones. There's a ULT stands for Ultimate Lifestyle Transformation. There's ULT plus brain is something that anything related to the brain, you'll want to do this one. I also like the ULT plus immune, but what I really like is combining the two. So the brain, I would recommend the brain plus the immune, plus I would add in the zinc aid to this one. So this is the one that I actually am going to go over today. Now, this one has our new featured product, which is Pineal Clear, which helps decalcify the pineal gland. And it also has collagen building minerals and nutrients. And it has, the Pineal Clear also has sea moss. If anyone's a fan of sea moss, it has turmeric. It's got all kinds of things. So let's talk about what is great about all these different products and why this works. So this is the first 30 days of your 90-day protocol. These are basically equivalent to 60 meals. These shakes are equivalent to 60 meals in 90 days. Sorry, in 30 days, 60 meals in 30 days. So this is 60 of your 90 meals. Okay. These provide the greens that have spirulina, that have barley green juice powder, that has alfalfa leaf, These have greens that actually can help lift toxic heavy metals. Spirulina is known for removing metals better than chlorella, actually. So this has the metal detoxing. This also has the barley green juice, which helps kill the Epstein-Barr virus. We're going to add in the zinc aid to this pack, and then the zinc also helps kill the Epstein-Barr virus. The super aminos is your protein. So these are your greens, and this is your fruit. And then you also got the apothecary juice, which is also fruit. And then you've got your super aminos, which is natural plant-based protein made from non-soy legumes. And this has a lysine, which kills the herpes virus, okay? Remember, Epstein-Barr virus is a herpetic virus. And so the L-lysine helps kill it. And that is in the super amino complex. And this is the same ratio of aminos that our body uses to make muscles. So this is a very complete formula for muscle building. So those of you who feel like you could use more tonality, more muscle building, this is amazing. This gives me incredible energy through the day. I no longer take 5 naps a day. I no longer have exhaustion or fatigue. I just am like able to get through the day. I can wake up early and go to sleep late and still work out and go hiking and do all the things. This is the Biomedic. This is a probiotic, prebiotic, and plus biotic right here. The Biomedic actually is amazing at removing glyphosate, which is the toxic ingredient in the herbicide Roundup. Okay, it's an herbicide. Glyphosate's an herbicide. It wreaks havoc on the body. It kills everything in its wake, kills everything in the digestion. And that leads to many digestive issues. So this helps remove the chemicals from your gut, and it helps rebuild the villi, which are the fine hairs that absorb nutrients. And so the Biomedic is your probiotic. Okay, so it also feeds the healthy gut bacteria. You got to have a good balance of gut bacteria, and this is going to help feed that. So we've got our greens, our fruit, our veggies, fruits, and protein, and our probiotics. Now we've got the super cleanser herbs. The super cleanser herbs sweep the colon. This is an Ayurvedic formula. It has all these natural herbs. It has wormwood and cascara sagrada and cloves, and it's just a really good, amazing combo. This is going to sweep the colon. Now, this helps kill parasites. Okay, viruses and parasites live alongside each other. So when we're eating diets that have, high fat in them, when we eat meat, when we eat dairy, when we eat eggs, all that stuff is causing a mucoid plaque that coats our intestines. We got to get that out, because guess what loves to burrow in that plaque in our intestines? Parasites love to live in there. Ooh, it's a nice stinky environment. They're like, oh yes, let me just burrow in there. And so we want to sweep out the colon. And that's also going to help that plaque is also preventing nutrients from absorbing into our colon, right? Because our small intestines is where we absorb our nutrients. So this is going to clean out our intestines, and it's going to help us also absorb more nutrients. And people feel amazing energy, even just with that, during that period of time for the 10 days that you take the super cleanser herbs. That is really what boosts energy to the next level as well. The Revive It All, this has alpha lipoic acid, which